Christian living in my log cabin on the banks of the Anchor River. So I'm going to do some Orthodox reading for us tonight, like I try to always do. I just had a church meeting that I was listening to on WhatsApp. My deacon and brothers and sisters in Christ from our church. The first reading that I'm going to do for us tonight, between the return and the meeting. We'll give it just a minute for a couple of people to join us. I hope everyone's doing good. Working today again, worked with a person that was so lonely as an elder that they asked if they could just talk to me while I worked so that they'd have someone to talk to. And it was hard to fight back tears, because then right after they said that, they said, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm just lonely. And I wanted somebody to talk to. And I said, no, it's no problem. I enjoy having you to talk to. And here, sit right here while I work on this. And I can listen while I work. And you're not distracting me at all. It makes me happy to be able to be here for you. This world is so lonely. I don't understand how there can be so much in people on this world, and yet there's so much complete loneliness, isolation, and despair. We've really let the devil destroy us as Americans. We've really let the devil destroy our people in America. And it's beyond shameful. It's evil. It's despicable evil. And all of us need to come together and do everything that we can to overcome it. When this person was reaching out to me, I was there to do some work at their house. They were so ashamed of saying to me that they were so lonely, that can I just talk to you while you work? And I immediately told them that I would love to listen to them and that they're not bothering me at all. It was hard to fight back the tears, to be honest. Why is such a nice old lady like that so alone and by herself with nobody to talk to her? She has family. I see so many people casting off the old people. It was unheard of. I grew up in the country before I came to Alaska. I grew up in Michigan on my grandparents' dairy farm because my dad was a drug addict who horribly beat my mom to the point that it drove her crazy. So I lived with my grandparents and took care of myself and had a room in their farm. And I did everything that I could to make money and to take care of myself and to feed myself and to help feed my brother ever since I was little. But I never imagined that someone wouldn't be taking care of their grandparents, that families would be separated when I was growing up. I never hung out in the city when I was still young like that. And I never understood how it would be possible that people would just leave their families, and especially their grandparents, all alone and not come see them, not come talk to them, be too busy to listen to their stories or to learn from them. Even outside of my family, when I visited my friends around in the country when I rode my bike or walked across the cornfields or wheat fields to visit my friends. A lot of their parents were older, and I'd sit and listen to stories from their parents, or they'd teach me how to do things. One of the parents liked to make go-karts and mini bikes, and he taught me about how to put steering columns and go-karts and how to hook up motors and how to put a snowmobile clutch on a motor. Another one of my friend's parents, I learned so much from: how to shoot a shotgun, what different types of shotgun loads there were, how to trap crayfish and turtles, how to clean fish, how to trap, how to fix pickup trucks. Most of my friends when I was 10 through 15 years old, 10 through 16 years old, most of my friends were about 40, 50 years older than me. And I learned so much from them. Of course, their children were my friends too, but they weren't just their parents. They were my friends. And I learned so much from them. And now I see the elderly and the adults are like outcasts. It seems so unusual, and it seems to be mostly an American thing where people drop their parents off at nursing homes like a puppy on a doorstep and say, "Here's my unwanted family member, take care of them. I'm too busy watching football," or "I'm too busy taking my kids to sports to actually live a real life. I'm too busy in this materialistic American narcissist culture to take care of my own family members." How shameful. And when we get caught up in the distractions of this world, all the vices that we shouldn't be a part of, we forget the meaning of life. We forget what we're here for. This life is so fleeting. It'll be gone before we know it. So the first reading that I'm going to do for us tonight is called Between the Return and the Meeting by Vladimir Shishkin. On this Sunday, the gospel parable of the prodigal son is read in churches. Next, we will hear Christ's story about what the last judgment will be like. And the week between them is nothing but a prototype of our life, from return to the meeting. And this entire week can be devoted to an exercise in what should fill our lives in anticipation of the coming of Christ: faith and faithfulness, hope and love. Maybe it's worth trying to ask yourself a number of questions, one every day, and answer them truthfully, deeply, and uncompromisingly. Monday, why don't I stay with him forever? I will ask myself today, why do I leave my father's house again and again? What beckons me? What keeps you in the far country? What does not allow, having returned once, to remain with him forever? I will lay the foundation for faithfulness. I will keep it in everything. The soul remains faithful to God when it withdraws from every sinful word, deed, and thought, when it immediately repents of those sins into which it is drawn due to its weakness, said St. Ignatius Bryanchaninov. Tuesday, light the lamp of the soul. I will ask myself, how do I prepare for the coming of Christ? Do I expect him with a burning lamp, Luke 12:35? Or do I prefer not to think about it, to push it to the margins of consciousness, to forget? I will try to put myself in the judgment of God before the judgment. Already now I ask myself the question, if Christ comes tonight at midnight, what answer will I give him? Wednesday, faith. But when the Son of Man comes, will he find faith on earth? Luke 18:8. Today I will apply these words of the gospel to myself and ask myself, And will Christ, if he comes now, find faith in the land of my heart, a living faith, a faith that is inextricably linked with love, a faith that invariably allows God to be in my life here and now? Thursday, love. Faith works through love, Galatians 5:6. They are inseparable. And the parable of the Last Judgment, which concludes this week, is a parable about love, about its expression in deeds of mercy and compassion. I will ask myself, what good can I do today? How and in what can I serve? Not my neighbors, but Christ himself. After all, everything I do for them, he will certainly attribute to myself. Whatever we do for our friends and neighbors and strangers, we do for Christ. Friday, not to be late. An English poet once said that above the entrance to hell, you can put an inscription, "Too late." I will ask myself, where and in what am I always late? To whom do I not give love, participation, attention? Who can't I hear? Who don't I see? Whom do I not take the trouble to notice? Which of the requests of the closest and dearest do I always leave unattended? And I will change at least something. When we repent, we must bear in mind, in addition to what we have done evil, all the good that we have not done. Saturday, expectation. Once in a sermon on the Last Judgment in the Optina Hermitage, the following words were heard: "The Lord comes, the one whom we loved, whom we served, whom we fed, whom we clothed, whom we visited. What should we be afraid of?" I will try to begin to build my inner and outer life in such a way, and may God help me, that these words will be embodied in my life. Vladimir Shishkin, February 9th, 2026. Next reading that I'm going to do for us is called Hasten to Do Good by Protodeacon Vladimir Vasilik. When the Son of Man comes in glory, and all the holy angels with him, then he will sit on the throne of his glory, and all the nations will be gathered before him, and separate one from another as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. And he will set the sheep on his right hand and the goats on his left. Matthew 26:31 through 32. As the Holy Fathers, in particular St. John Chrysostom, say, the righteous are called sheep because of their meekness and patience, and the sinners are called goats because of their stubbornness and pride, malice and aggressiveness. However, there's another meaning here. Goats, unlike sheep, are practically useless for the farm. For antiquity, with its pragmatic attitude to animals, such a consideration is not superfluous. Then shall the king say unto those who are on his right hand, Come, ye blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and ye gave me to eat. I was thirsty, and ye gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you received me. I was naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came unto me. Matthew 26:34 through 36. At first glance, it seems that the righteous are rewarded not for the confession of faith and for ascetic feats, but for elementary humanity, for actions that are natural and organic for a person. However, this is only an external impression, as St. John Chrysostom says. These words can also be understood in relation to teachers who gave the food of doctrine to those who hunger for righteousness, that they might be satisfied and strengthened by good works. Who gave the drink of truth to those who thirst for the knowledge of God. Christ himself is received by those who, teaching righteousness, clothe the naked, that is, those who do not have the garment of righteousness. That is, we are talking not only about the bodily, but also about the spiritual at the same time. Salvific activity not only for the body, but also for the soul. And not only about the natural humanity, but also about Christian love, which has supernatural origins. Then the righteous will answer and say to him, Lord, when did we see thee hungry and fed thee, or thirsty and gave them to drink? when we did see thee as a stranger and received thee, or naked and clothed, when we saw thee sick or in prison and came to thee, and the king shall answer and say unto them, Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as ye have done it unto one of the least of these my brethren, ye have done it unto me. Matthew 26:37 through 40. What is noteworthy here is the humble surprise of the righteous, who didn't even think that in the person of the poor, the needy, and the suffering, they serve the Lord himself. And yet the Lord hungers not in himself, but in his saints. The Lord thirsts not in himself, but in his poor. And the second amazing feeling is the forgetfulness of all the good that they did, the blissful forgetfulness of their good deeds they did and forgot. Not to us, O Lord, but to thy name. Then he will say to those on the left, Depart from me, you cursed, into everlasting fire, prepared for the devil and for his angels. For I was hungry, and you did not give me to eat. I was thirsty, and you did not give me to drink. I was a stranger, and you did not receive me. I was naked, and they did not clothe me. I am sick and in prison, and have not visited me. Then they will also answer and say to him, Lord, when did we see thee hungry or thirsty or a stranger, or naked or sick or in prison, and did not serve thee? Then he will answer and say to them, Truly I say to you, because you did not do it to the least of these, you did not do it to me. Matthew 26:41, 46. In the condemnation of sinners, it's noteworthy that the Lord does not say to them, Depart from me, evildoers, for you are guilty of murder, fornication, of theft. No, but he says, For I hungered and thirsted among my servants, and you did not serve me. They are condemned not for terrible crimes, but for what they did not do. And this is deeply symbolic. They were not in the active accomplishment of good. The Holy Fathers generally speak of evil as non-existence, as a deprivation of good. Evil as an active, real substance, as the Zoroastrians and Manichaeans thought, does not exist. But this does not make evil cease to be evil. Inhumanity does not cease to be inhumanity, as St. John Chrysostom says. Even if the enemy came, would not his sufferings be strong to touch and incline the most merciless? Hunger, cold, bonds, nakedness, sickness. And this is enough to end the enmity, but you did not do the same with a friend, benefactor, and master. A person can do good and does not do it, and at times he feels from it pleasure. I recall a casually overheard conversation between two guys in the 90s. Here you are drinking beer, and a homeless man looks at you and thinks whether you will give him a bottle or break it. Oh, how pleasant, how good it is to the soul, especially when you break it. They were actively taught that this from the screens and high tribunes. They were hammered into their heads that let that loser cry. The poor are to blame for their own troubles, and in general, they should get rid of them. There's nothing to breed poverty in general. All the 13 commandments of godless and demonic socio-Darwinism. Yes, by the way, about the words, there is no need to breed poverty. After all, this is the justification for genocide called abortion. It is also a kind of implementation for the principle of non-existence in life. Mother and father do not want to be a mother and father, do not want a new life. They want to live and enjoy themselves, to solve their problems. Only a woman who goes for an abortion does not solve her problems, but adds a new and terrible one to herself. She becomes a murderer and a mother of a murdered child. The end of such an attitude of active non-action is terrible. And these shall go away into eternal punishment, but the righteous into everlasting life. Matthew 26:46. No matter how much lovers of pleasure would like to consider this as an image, a symbol, an allegory, alas, these words are a literal reality, joyful for some, terrible for others. Let us be afraid of these words and begin to actively fulfill the commandments of God. As the 20th century ascetic Father Seraphim Rose said, later than you think, hasten to do good. Protodeacon Vladimir Vasilik. That's the most wonderful thing to ever come out of California. Father Seraphim Rose. People really have a lot of love for him in Russia. Why in the United States he's hardly known strikes me as a mystery. It's absolutely insane. So thank you, brothers and sisters, for joining me. I turned 50 in August. I'm always young at heart. I feel strange. I don't feel 50. Single and living in my cabin. So I'll do some more readings for us probably tonight, still later. I'm just a little bit behind on things. Got a couple of chores I got to do yet, and then I'll find some more stuff to read for us. I try to always do something important that's helpful to you. God always leads me to what to read. So God bless you, brothers and sisters. Remember, it's later than we think. Keep a remembrance of death. Keep thy mind in hell and despair not. Remember that God loves you. He's always there for you. Don't let the evil one lead you into delusion, into thinking that God hates you and allows all the bad to come into this world. We have to struggle and get through this valley, but he who endures to the end will be saved. We are weak and God knows this, but if we ask him for anything in faith, it will be done. Ask the Lord to help you and guide you in all your ways. Wring out your heart before him and tell him all the things that you struggle with. God bless you, brothers and sisters. I'll see you on the next one. God bless.